Fantastic. Thanks so much, Christina. Welcome. Yeah, this is all about our new OurVet.Shop. We've wanted it to be as sort of personal and as inclusive as possible, and that's why we've named it OurVet.Shop. So a little bit of history, as Christina says. If you don't know, Charlie and I were both vets, and I owned some practices, and Charlie came to work for me, almost 13, 14 years ago. We've been best chums ever since. But he came at a time when we had another global crisis, the financial crisis in 2008. And it really affected my practice. And I had to do something. I had to be able to engage with my clients to get them to come in and understand the benefits of preventative health at a time when people were really short on money. And there was nothing on the market. Our practice management system couldn't do it. So we decided to build it. And that's how iRecall came to be. And it proved incredibly successful for us. And as a result, we thought we would offer that out to other practices to give the benefit, and hence virtual recall came about. Well, here we are in 2020 with another global crisis. This bloody awful coronavirus has affected everybody. Whether you're practice owners or you work in practice, whether you work in industry and you're affected by the downturn, it is really, really difficult. From a personal point of view, and I will give some of that fact, as soon as we closed our doors, I had to close 3 of my practices, furloughed all bar 7 staff, revenues down about 68%. They have come back a little bit, and I'm probably about 50% down, but it's tough. So one of the things we want to do is people are stuck indoors. Okay, the lockdown is just releasing and opening up a little bit, but at the same time there is fear, but we needed to do something. So I'm absolutely thrilled and just delighted with the whole of the team that in effectively less than 2 months, we've created a company, we've built the tech, we've created the integrations and the relationships and the partnerships with fulfillment partners, and we're launching OurVet.Shop. They're here for your clients to look after your clients' animals. So one of the big questions is, who wants home delivery? Well, your clients definitely do. Bearing in mind, we've been wanting to do this for some time, and this is market research that dates back to 2017. And we asked a lot of clients and industry partners. They were really, really keen. But as you can see, clients really wanted this. So we then put it to some practices, and at that stage they said, oh, no, we don't want that. We want footfall, and we don't want to give away any margin. So we mothballed it. Well, roll forward 3 years, and here we are at a stage where clients and effectively online shopping is the way of the world. People are not being able to come into the practice, or at least are kept outside. They may have curbside collections, but it's tough. I need home delivery, as I said, really down on revenues as a practice owner. But whether you heard one of my dogs barking outside, which I apologize for, I'm also a pet owner. I am a client of my practice, and I need products. I need parasiticides. I buy food from there. But I haven't set foot back in the practice since then. So it's a challenge. So as I say, practice perspective, for Beach House, this is a lifeline today, but absolutely I see it is an ongoing opportunity because it's what clients want. I have that is odd. Apologies, something has happened, so I can't now move my slide deck. So I have contributed to the Vet Dynamics survey with BB Vet. This is the first survey, the second one I've completed, but we haven't had the results yet. But it's just to highlight the red is bad and there's a lot of it. And absolutely, I think this probably mirrors most people. I think I'm on the top side of how badly that is. But it's a challenge. And therefore, the one thing which is wonderful about the veterinary profession, we're really good at solving problems. So my practice team want home delivery because during this stage, we created what I called pet wellness packages. And we put them together and one of the team would go and deliver to the home. It's taking time for them. It's not really their job spec. It's a burden, administrative, takes time, but I needed to do it. So how can I actually improve on that? Because that wasn't scalable. So we looked at the marketplace. What else is there? Of course, I could actually give up on selling products. People can buy online, but that's just not what I want. I want to be focus and the center, or not me personally, but the practice should be at the heart of it. And there are some other industry-led sort of home delivery sort of services. I wouldn't call them solutions because they tend to be very restricted, one product or a product type. But for Beach House and where I feel that the veterinary profession and other colleagues want is they want to be absolutely in control and be able to do things. So that's what we set out to do. And it is absolutely trying to keep you at the heart of that relationship. We want to enhance that loyalty. Realistically, if you get more loyal clients, they come more, they visit more, they spend more, they tell more friends. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to set foot in the door. And at the moment, they can't. You need to keep ownership. You want to have control. Some of us, that's really important. But it needs to be simple. And ultimately, we need you to be making money. It needs to be that financial lifeline now, but also into the future. So I'm starting to introduce Boxster and how we want this to be. It's going to be for everything, but hopefully you can appreciate that within less than 2 months from start to actually launching it, we're just starting with parasiticides. Food will come on very, very quickly, and then chronic medicines. You can actually make use of it because we've got this superbly integrated, seamless payment that if you're taking video consults or telephone consultations, just like me, this is a perfect way to get payment. And we've tried to ensure that this is for everybody. We pride ourselves on being agnostic. We don't want to be beholden to a particular manufacturer, whether you're on a pet health plan, whichever practice management system. OurVet.Shop will work for all of you. So we want to tailor it to the practice. This is my practice, Beach House Vets, with our color. And to give you an idea, we've created reception posters, not so important at this current time, but social media on the top, on the right-hand side. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then down at the bottom, there's a banner for your website. And if you can see, it says click for more information. That will be a live link going straight through that clients can click on that from your website to take them to OurVet.Shop. So when you're actually promoting it to your clients, why we wanted to do it in that inclusive way is, oh, yeah, you can order it from us from OurVet.Shop. Here's another practice actually on a website. So as you can see, reorder now, a client can do that and you can direct them directly through to that and they come to this sort of closed loop. We don't want them to be effectively searching online. We want to make this as simple as possible. And we've already sort of created these different brands to suit most websites, most practices. But the beauty of it, we can ultimately tailor it. So here where the orange, the yellow, the red, the purple, the blue, the green, that could be absolutely your ultimate, your exact hex color, your color palette for your brand. So we can absolutely match it to get this ultimate tailoring. But the other things that are benefits for the practice, just like everything that we do, and when Charlie and I set up Virtual Recall, it was so important. We had three sort of key purposes. Overarching, we would only do things that would improve animal health and well-being, but we also wanted to reduce the workload, the administrative workload, and improve that workflow. But that also follows through from a client perspective. Think of those wonderful customer experiences that you have. It's when it's simple. You don't want any friction. You've probably heard of this phrase, reduce the friction, frictionless customer service. And that's the thing. We want that to be the purpose of OurVet.Shop. And the beauty of it, it reduces your stock. For me, one of my big frustrations is when stock goes out of date. That's lost money, and it's very frustrating. But the beauty of OurVet.Shop, you can potentially have on there products that you don't stock or you can't stock in practice, but clients might want to buy from you. So one of the things that we have a lot of data with the company using iRecall. And since lockdown, we've always had what we used to call click and collect. That short link, if you can read, if you need more, please reorder at, or call us on. Now, that URL takes people through. And we've now rebranded click and collect, because we can't do that, to click and reorder. And interestingly, we've just got probably just over 500 sites who use click and reorder. And since lockdown, the amount of sales that have been going through being ordered that way, between a quarter and just over a third. From Beach House, my personal perspective, very few people used to do that, because I used to say call, pop in, or click to reorder. And that's what they did. Only less than 4% would use the link. Well, since I've removed the pop in, because they could still phone, but over a quarter have been using that link to do that reorder. But across the board, loads have actually done this, more than 35%. So how does it work? This is where I'm going to hand over to Charlie to give you an idea before he does this demo. So, Charlie.
Thanks, Jamie, and evening, everybody. So I'm going to come on to a demonstration and hopefully show you some of these screens live, but obviously just want to give you a flavour for how the whole system works for you in practice and for your clients. And it's easiest to think about it in these 4 steps: the order generation, so how the order is being started, and then what you in practice are going to do when that order comes in. It then gets paid, and then once it's been paid, the medications get sent to the client by our fulfillers. And that's perhaps a slightly different sequence of events to a normal web shop, and it's really important to not think of OurVet.Shop as a web shop and an online pharmacy like the Via Vets of the world out there. The process is starting with the client wanting to engage with you in a practice, and you'll see that there's probably 3 or 4 different ways that the clients can do that. So the order generation can start with one of those messages, the iRecall messages that for those of you that use iRecall already, you're familiar with, and the click and reorder links are personalized links, as Jamie said, meaning that when a client clicks on that, we know exactly who that client is, and we know about their pets, and we know what products they've bought before. So they'd get a screen in front of them, like the one on the right hand side of your screen, where we can list products that they've bought. But similarly, if they want to add different things, or perhaps the worming tablet didn't agree with Dougal, then they can say that, or even request an appointment or a teleconsult or whatever it might be. Similarly, it might be that they've just come to your website, and we'll just go back. We'll stay on the last slide, but therefore those links that we can put on your website come to a more generic form, and I'll show you that process in a moment. Alternatively, it might simply be that the client's picked up the phone to you, or they may even be in the practice or sat in their car in the car park at the moment, and you want to still give them some medication, but perhaps you don't have the stock of it. And this is another way that you can help to expand your stock inventory without necessarily having lots of items on the shelf as well. So lots of different ways that it can be used. If we go on to the next screen, Jamie, this is sort of a screenshot of, again, our dashboard, where in practice, you then can review all those ordered requests, and whether they're prescription medications that require a vet to authorize and create an electronic prescription, or if it's a GSL product that a receptionist can do, then they can all be managed through this, and we'll come on to that. As soon as those products have been approved, then at that point, we're asking the client to make the payment. We've not asked them to pay up front because we don't know that maybe they had a smaller sized flea treatment because their dog was a puppy. It's grown, now they need a bigger size, which might cost them more. So they get this order approval screen, which you send by email and by text message, to make sure they check out as soon as, and then prompted to check out as soon as possible. Simple payment screen, which again I'll demo. And then as soon as it's paid, it goes over for fulfillment and will arrive on their door a few days later. So I'm going to share my screen now, and just bear with us for a second. So here we go. Hopefully you can now see my screen, which has just got a single window in the middle. And this is actually a mirror of my phone at the moment. So this is perhaps how a client might start the process. They come onto your website and they click that link. And if you look right at the top at the URL bar, we can see that they're using Maple Vets. Ignore the UAT because this is just a demo environment, but maplevets.ourvet.shop. So each practice can have their own links, or multiple links if you want, for different sites with your branding, your color schemes, and so on. So it looks and feels like your service, which is exactly, of course, what we've always tried to do with iRecall as well. So let's create an order. So I'm just going to quickly type in some details, if you bear with me. I'm going to pretend I'm Jamie for this instance, only because I did one earlier with my name, so you'll be able to see Jamie come up. We want to put in address, and again, not to put Jamie on the spot, I'm going to put in our office address, and it's got a sorry, I can't type and talk very well. It's got an address finder, so 7 Huxley Road is our address in Guildford, and it fills the rest in for me. So trying to minimize the information. I'm going to put in a phone number as well, and again, actually, we see this as another way that you can help to boost your client contact details, help to capture more mobile numbers and email addresses. So when these come in, you can also be updating details within your practice management system as well. The next section is then, what would I like? And again, remember, this is the standard order form. If they'd used one of our iRecall links, then we would know all these details already, so we wouldn't have to be putting these in. But I'm going to say I want something for Cosmo, one of Jamie's lovely cats, and we're going to ask, now we can either just ask for some flea treatment because maybe I don't know what I want for Cosmo, or maybe I do, and actually I'm going to ask for some Advocate. But I can type in anything in here, and similarly, if I wanted other items, then I can add those, and I can also add more pets as well. But I'm going to just delete those for the time being. Just stick with Advocate. And again, in the notes, maybe I do need an appointment. So can I have an appointment, please? And you'll see where that appears as well. Next section. I don't have to have home delivery, and where Jamie said we've always had click and reorder, just allowing clients to request products that they know they're going to be coming to the practice soon, or it's just around the corner from them. They can still do that through this system, but of course during lockdown, And more and more as clients want home delivery, we anticipate that service being used more and more. And then finally, a sort of a guidance on what it's going to cost the clients to have these goods delivered. And you can set these costs. So we're not prescriptive. We know some practices want to offer free delivery for all their products, and we'll just take the hit on that. Others of you may think, well, actually, I want to break even on my fulfillment costs, or maybe even make a small margin. So we are not trying to dictate. But what I would say at this point is the delivery cost that you're charging to your clients is not going to be exactly the same as what it's actually costing for these products to be fulfilled. And of course, from a consumer, from a client perspective, we're all very used to going online and having a standard delivery cost, whether that's because I'm buying a bag of food or a pack of pencils for my child, something like that. It's usually a similar sort of value, and that's of course never reflective of the true delivery cost. But it's important that we keep the client's perception of these costs in mind. And then finally, there's just a little check at the bottom, and I have to say I hate doing these things, but it does make sure that you're not going to get spammed by robots on the internet and things. You don't always have to do that image. It's funny, it knows if you're on a phone particularly, that to a degree the algorithms don't make you do it every time. So I'm going to submit that now. As a practice, I'm going to now bring up a different screen, and what we will see, hopefully, if I can refresh this, is that the orders are going to come into our dashboard. So this is our same iRecall hub that you've been used to using with iRecall. So the dashboard, the message logs, if you use our review service, then where all your net promoter scores and so on come into. But we've added a new area down here, which is OurVet.Shop. And we can see we've instantly got a dashboard here, which is showing us all our orders and the statuses. And of course, the top here, the one that I've just created is Cosmo Crittall. So I can go into that. Now this, of course, in practice could be the receptionist, could be your practice manager or one of your other support team that's fielding all these orders. Remember that the orders will also come into an email inbox as well. So you don't have to be logged into this hub the whole time. But if you're using an email inbox and just checking that, then these orders will come in, click on that, and it brings you straight through to here as well. So you've always got that nudge. So I can see that Mr. Jamie Crittall has ordered this. And again, at the moment, we've not linked Jamie to our practice management system. If he'd used one of those personal links, it would instantly know the client ID and it would know the patient ID and therefore be able to pre-populate a lot more information. But I can press link and looking, this will then create a link to your practice management system. I can see Jamie Crittall here and select that, and that's going to save me again a bunch of work, so I don't have to pre-fill address information. It has held on to the address that the client provided during that form, because actually maybe they want it delivered to a work address or something like that. And again, down here we've got Cosmo, and I can link Cosmo just by selecting and confirming, and we can see it's starting to pull through some of the information. So it knows that Cosy's a cat, domestic long hair, weighs 4.8 kilos, and actually normally the date of birth would appear in here as well. I know that Cosmo wants advocate because I can see it down here, advocate prescription product. So I do need to put a date of birth in, otherwise I can't write a valid prescription. So let's assume Cosmo was born on the 6th of June, 2014. The next little tab here is whether they're on a health plan or not. And again, that's important because actually, if they're on a health plan, then you probably don't want to charge them full price for this product, or at least you'll see whether it's a product that's valid under their health plan. And if they are, then you'll see when we create the order that we can zero price that, so the client can still benefit from all the home delivery. You can charge the delivery fee alone, or you can zero all the costs for that client. and then continue the checkout. So next section, requested advocate. So let's fulfill that properly. So I'm going to go to the product, select advocate. He's over 4 kilos, so I'm going to go for a large advocate, and I'm going to pick a 3-pack, and there it goes, appears into the system. And you can, this catalog here, you can define as you want. So as long as it's a product that we're able to offer, you don't have to have everything in here. You can trim it right down, or have everything that you want, depending on how you want to manage that. It's giving us a price and a subtotal. And again, if you look here, we can click this no charge button, which would zero that price out so that there's nothing for the client to pay. I want to demonstrate the payment portal to you, so I'm going to keep that on there. Labeling instructions, 1 pipette to the back of the neck and repeat once a month. Again, I can change that, but there's a default to help you there. So there we go, saved. And it's pulling through then the summary at the bottom here. Now, if I was a receptionist doing this request for payment button here would say request authorization, and that would save it in a draft format. And then because it's a prescription item, one of your vets needs to log on to the service. When we're creating users, we're capturing your MRCVS numbers and so on, so that we can write a valid prescription. And then the vet, all the vet needs to do is just go through and say, yes, I'm happy for Cosmo to have some advocate, and then hit request for payment at that stage. So it just becomes a slightly another step. So clicking request for payment. And now what I'm going to do is go back to my phone, and that will then come through to the client. Like I say, usually, if I press the right button, it would, by text and by email, because we want to make sure that the client sees that the order's been as soon as possible. But we can see here straight away, top message on my inbox from Maple Vets Hersham. Cosmo's order request is ready. Click on that, is ready for payment. I can see the amount, so this is the client now. Click order, review order and pay. It takes me through to the order process. Again, I think, well, actually, I'm going to be on holiday. I realise I'm going to be on holiday that day. I don't want to go into the office. I have a last chance to change the address there, and then make the payment. Really simple payment gateway. It knows who I am, so all I need to do is put in some card details, and of course it's just a dummy card here, let's put in some details so at least you could see, pay the £32.02 and job done. At that stage, I get a payment complete screen for the client, and I will see back in our hub for the practice. We go back to our dashboard, then we should see that this is now processing. There's some final checks that goes through, because it's going to be remote dispensed. It has to go off to our for a secondary vet check. Assuming it passes all those checks, then it will then of course the order will get fulfilled, and that's just a 24-hour process to do that. Once it has been fulfilled and it hasn't come into this last section, this update PMS screen tab on the right hand side, but this is really a prompt to make sure that all those orders do get transferred into your practice management system. Because it's important both from a clinical notes perspective, but also we want to make sure that we carry on sending reminders. We would love to be able to write this information in directly for you. Unfortunately, a lot of the computer systems just we can't do that. The newer cloud-based systems are starting to allow write-backs, and more hopefully we will be able to do that. But instead, there's these prompts, so receptionist, practice manager can go through this list, make sure that Freddie's order is put into the practice management system, so we know exactly what they've purchased, and to send some reminders. So from a demo point of view, that's the lion's share of it. There are a couple of other screens here where there's sort of configuration, happens, and also some reports that you can download, so you can see all your transaction histories and download your VAT for your accounting software and so on. So all that is in there as well. But if you've got any questions, then we can certainly pick those up at the end. But I'm going to hand back to Jamie just to finish off, and then we'll be wrapping up. So hopefully, over to you, Jamie.
Perfect. Thanks, Charlie. Take myself off mute and go back to, hopefully it. There we go. Fantastic. Can you see? So, as I said earlier, brilliant demonstration from Charlie. We've created OurVet.Shop so that everybody can use it. You don't need to have iRecall, but the benefit that iRecall has is being able to improve that workflow, be able to carry some of the data through, so you're not having to do so much double entry, and nor are your clients. So, but you don't need to have it. Oh, it's funny. There we go. I can now move. So it is trying to make that more streamlined. From a financial perspective, the practice still continues to set, you choose your price. We can absolutely help to advise you, but what we're there to do is manage those the prescriptions. And as Charlie says, there is another vet in our fulfillment partner who goes through to do that double check. One of the things about direct to consumer, there are more checks and balances, and I think that's a good thing. They then dispense, post, package, and then fulfillment. Certainly for parasiticides, depending on the number, some will come through the raw mail, but some will be through delivery. So we also do all of the PCI, the sort of legal and financial compliance element, by making use of merchant service. And as Charlie says, it is seamless, and we make use of Stripe, and we think they're great. From a value perspective, they charge 1.4% and 20 pence on every transaction, but we think that's great because the customer experience is great. Manufacturer rebates are unaffected because they're coming from your wholesaler. And at the moment, we've made this whole system to be as flexible as possible for lots of different fulfillment partners. But as a starting point, NBS is helping us. So if you are an NBS customer, well, absolutely no change. If you're not, and you want to negotiate wholesaler discounts, that's between you and them. And as Charlie points out and demonstrated where you can click for the health plans, it doesn't matter whether you're using a health plan or not, and you can use whoever. We've made this as flexible and as agnostic as possible. So to put that into a flow, the client pays into OurVet.Shop. One of the things that we're really proud of, we're going to pay you twice a month from a cash flow forecast, but the actual fulfillment costs come out of that, and our order, we've got a nominal order processing charge of 3.85%, minimum 35 pence, that covers the merchant services, the communications, the banking. Remember, every time you have a transaction in the practice, there is a financial implication. At the end of the month, your credit card company will send you an invoice. That is taken care of as part of this order processing charge. We, just like with iRecall, if you are using iRecall, you'll understand that we charge a monthly subscription according to full-time equivalents. And during the coronavirus, up until the 1st of August, we're charging £30 per full-time equivalent per month. That goes up to £45. And the wholesaler, at the end of the month, you get invoiced, and then you pay for them for your products that using and selling in practice, but also that have been going through your vet shop. But remember, your clients absolutely want it. Part of that survey back in 2017, 35% said they would definitely make use of it. Interestingly, it's not the same 35%, but 35% of those respondents actually said they were more interested in home delivery. And one of the things that has come out since COVID-19, the statistics about how people are making use of digital and online services is phenomenal. Even from an email open rate, they think that it's probably another 25% opening their emails. And bearing in mind, healthcare emails probably are only open 25%. That's doubling. That's absolutely fantastic. Online retailing, they reckon increases between 25 and 30% year on year. So they absolutely love it. And what we've been able to demonstrate, the easier you make things, the more convenient, the more compliant people are. The better your compliance, the better your sales. So we're thrilled. We want to offer it. And one of the things, maybe I should sort of go back to a financial perspective, manufacturers, and particularly Elanco, I can absolutely say that if you're an Elanco practice, you should go and speak to your account manager, because they may not regret that, but providing the first 3 months free. And it is a 12-month subscription. Circumstances have an opt-out after the first 3 months. So speak to your Elanco account manager, but there are other manufacturers that we know are also interested in doing this. And hopefully we'll be able to announce more formally in time. So thank you. Now over to the questions. Bearing in mind, I hope I'm on time. Yep,
yes,
within
you're doing brilliantly. Well done, Jamie. Thank you, Charlie and Jamie. That's amazing. And questions have been pouring in, which is fantastic. I think just maybe finishing up on there was a question from last night, which I think also be relevant for tonight. So the price, as Jamie was saying, for the subscription was £30 per month per full-time equivalent vet. If you sign up before the 1st of August, that £30 is over the course of the 12-month contract, for the whole of the 12-month contract. If you sign up after the 1st of August, that then goes up to £45, so also increasing some of our offering there. Right, so Charlie, I think it might be worthwhile just revisiting a little bit the delivery charges element, the delivery charges being from a fulfillment partner perspective, but also from a client perspective, particularly around pet health plan customers and the sort of zero pricing that you've mentioned. I think that caused a little bit of confusion, so it might be worthwhile clarifying that a little.
Sure, thanks. I probably should have prepared a slide for it, but I'm afraid I haven't, so I'll do my best to talk through it. But from what the actual cost of sending goods is, it's simplest certainly if we think about what we're offering on day one, which is parasiticide deliveries. Now, every pet that has a parasiticide order created is thought of as a different order by the fulfillers. So one of the current slight gotchas is that if you have 3 pets, that's effectively 3 different orders. Now each order will go into effectively a small postal box, and that for all the prescription checking, pick, pack, posting, and so on is £2 per item to you at the practice. When we think about food and chronic medications, it really then starts to get a lot more complicated, because of course a 2 or a 14 kilo bag of food could cost up to £4.95. A small blister pack of Forticor or something like that would also stay within the £2. But it does sort of build up from there. In terms of what you want to charge the clients, As I said, when we were looking at that order form, we have effectively 3 tiers, and you can set those 3 tiers to whatever you want to charge the client. But our recommendation is that, and our research shows that clients generally are happy to pay for delivery. They appreciate the extra service that they're getting. It saves them the time, the petrol, and everything else to go and get those medications. And our research shows that between between £2 and £4 probably is a valid delivery charge. I think if you're getting big and bulky items, you might expect a little bit more than that even. But you wouldn't expect, if you've got 3 pets, to have to pay that delivery charge twice. This, as a consumer, doesn't really make sense. And almost the more you order, the cheaper you expect your delivery very often. So there is even the functionality within the setup to say, well, if a client orders more than you set the limit, £70, you can have delivery free. But that delivery charge to the client is probably rarely going to exactly match what it's cost to fulfill. But our aim is to help guide you through what those charges should be. And at the end of the month, say, the aim is that what it's cost you and what you charge the clients are zeroing each other out, and that is the goal.
And what is the other thing that's so important to say at this stage? What we're really anticipating is that clients will actually do more with you. They may purchase products that they don't purchase from you normally. So by giving them the level of convenience that matches Amazon, but because they love you, and where we see in the evidence supported throughout the country is that millennials, but also now because of COVID, that a lot of people will want to shop local. But that doesn't necessarily mean they want to go into the physical practice to pick things up. So by being able to provide this new channel, that we're really hoping we're giving you the opportunity for future new revenue that will absolutely be self-sustaining and very successful.
Absolutely right. From the pet health plan perspective, and I think potentially I confused a few of you there, so apologies. But when I was creating that order, that you saw the little tick box that I could select to take the price out of that. That is not happening automatically. That is there is intervention in that step, because unfortunately, with the best will in the world, practices across the country record health plan information in a huge number of different ways in their practice management systems. And sometimes it's not always up to date as well. So we don't feel confident to say that Fluffy definitely should have this product at zero price, because the data is not always reflective. So it might be that you're just looking, because you're looking through the client's notes to check that they're allowed to have that prescription. Then at the same time, you're considering whether they're on plan or not. So that is a guide, but another step to include there. From a client's perspective, they don't get, of course, any say as to whether they should have the product free of charge or not. That's the vet's decision, which is one of the sort of queries in the Q&A as well. So hopefully that clarifies it a bit more. But of course, give us a ring in the morning, and if you want to know more detail, and we'd be delighted to go through it with you.
Great. There's also a couple of questions around stripe costs, whether that's included or excluded. So
that's definitely, thanks, Christy. Yeah, I can see that now. Included. Stripe always charges 1.4% plus 20 pence, which makes it quite complicated. And our order processing charge covers that and is a percentage. But we do charge a minimum of 35 pence. So if all of your health plan clients were to use this, realistically, we have to cover that cost of the stripe element. That 20p adds up.
Great. And I think maybe just clarifying exactly how the order information gets transferred back into the PMS system as well. I think it'd be useful just to re-clarify that for a few people as well.
Well, what I do, as Charlie's explained, most practice management systems don't have what we call an API that we can sort of link to. Cloud-based ones do, but there is some work that they need to do, and hopefully in time that may come about. But because we're not taking stock from the practice, it's important that you don't charge in practice per se, because chances are you're then taking stock out and it's not right. So what I have put into my practice are some dummy codes. You don't need to put individual codes in. So I have, the way I've done it is saying OurVet.Shop advocate, and there Charlie with Cosmo doing a 3-pack, I would go back into Cosmo's record, put OurVet.Shop advocate quantity 3, and as a result, from your if you're using your own reminders or a non-iRecall reminder, yes, you would need to apply a reminder code to that. I use iRecall, and that interprets that from an advocate message, the quantity, oh, I need to send 3 messages on the date that you've put in. So it's very simple. Yes, there's a bit of setup initially, but bearing in mind, depending on the number of products that you'll be selling, almost that the parent, be that Bravecto, be that Credelio, be that Drontal, that's all we need. Perhaps Drontal Plus, because then we'll know it's going for dogs compared to Drontal Cat. But if it is the same product, that's absolutely fine. So we hope it's something that it is a new step, but it's one of those steps that's very, very simple, and then becomes very easy because it's just almost the same as that you would be doing in practice.
Great. Gareth also got another process question. So vet authorization of flea and wormer, does that have to be performed on every transaction? The reality of practice life is that active clients who have been in the last 12 months, we dispense under the care of the vet team on this class of product.
Yeah, I think good question, Gareth. I think, everybody's got slightly different processes in practice. One of the things that perhaps is slightly different when one is prescribing remotely is that this is a formal prescription that has to be verified remotely as well, and therefore it does need the veterinary's surgeon's name and details validated against it. Now, I think in the future, where we will absolutely be looking to go is enabling practices to say, well, I'm happy for this client to have this medication on repeat 3 times, or maybe even 4 times, for advocate to give you 12 months worth of cover, and then that time actually there's no authorization required at all. The client can just click pay, or maybe even they've chosen to have their credit card stored on file, again securely through Stripe, and they can effectively reorder their product with one click, and it's already pre-authorized. So slightly different. I know where you're coming from, Gareth, with that, but we tried to make it as simple as possible.
But particularly from a direct-to-consumer perspective, because there is another vet check at the fulfillment, and we have a virtual practice premise, a prescription can only last 6 months. So through OurVet.Shop, a maximum of 6 months can go through. There may be exceptions, but that is one of the things that would need to be agreed with, that you are taking that responsibility. But under normal circumstances, a prescription can only last 6 months.
Brilliant. Right, we've got 2 more questions and 4 minutes, so that's perfect. Judy's asked, well, firstly, thank you as an iRecall customer already. We've got the reminder system, and is the OurVet.Shop cost on top of what you're already paying in terms of the monthly subscription for iRecall.
Yes, Julie, it is. It's a completely different service. It's a completely different company. The benefit of being an iRecall user is that you get the improved flow, the more seamless element, less double entry, and you'll also have the benefit of having a better understanding of the hub. So yes, they are separate.
And also, I guess, from a client experience perspective, it is very tailored and personalised to yourself and your pet. So it is very much sort of a one-click, you know, a two-click ordering process to that. But you've already got all the detailed products there. So hopefully some really enhanced additional service to your iRecall reminders already there. Thank you, Julie. And Colin asked, I'm a MWI Centaur client. When my buying group rebates are calculated, is this based on the wholesaler spend? Are the buying groups happy to get the data from 2 wholesalers? I think that's a great question.
It is. That's a great question, Colin. At the moment, we're dealing with MVS. But absolutely, we're already in discussions with Centaur to be able to be doing that. One of the things that I'm also a member of a buying group, and it went through my mind thinking that you actually pay often a subscription or a commission rate on what goes through, and you would be paying sort of twice for not doing it. So the actual physical product would then get matched back more from a manufacturer rebate, but we can probably discuss that more personally at another time, and I apologize, but can only thank you all. But let's go and clap for carers. But if you want to get in touch, another time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you all. Have a lovely evening.
Bye. Take care and stay safe. Bye.
Yeah, stay safe. Bye.